How do we learn about the past? That is a really very interesting topic that we are going to cover today. Here we will see how the time measured in history. So how the time was going to measure at that time in history. Then what is the meaning of timeline? That is also an interesting topic that we are going to cover. Then we will see the sources of history. That sources from where we can get the knowledge about the history. So here we are going to cover the oral sources, literary sources, artistic sources, archaeological sources. Then the beginning of human history and what was the first crops. We are going to cover this one. So let us start with the topic, that is how do we learn about the past. See, here some picture has been given here, and here the difference is there. Light blue color just indicate the billion years ago, then dark blue million years ago, and light green years ago. So if we will see in the years ago, then we will find here Homo sapiens is there, that is the 3 lakhs years ago, then 6500 writing is there. And billions years ago we will see the earth, atmospheric oxygen, then the first cell, bacteria, and millions years ago we will see the sharks, reptile, dinosaurs, insects, amphibians, right? So in this way this is the just about the overview of the past. There are other branches of science, each have their own spheres, and they help us to understand about earth, human history, behavior of humans, etc. So there is a certain subject, the branches of science are there that just help us to know about the past of the history, right? So they just help us to understand about the earth, human history, behavior of humans. Here are some trained people who uncover the secrets left beneath the earth's surface and help us to learn about its past and also our past, right? So who are they? Geologists, anthropologists, paleontologists, archaeologists. So these are the people who just help us to reveal the what were there in the past. So from here we can learn about our past. So geologists, they study the physical features of the earth like the soil, stone, hill, mountain, river, seas, ocean and other such parts of the earth. Okay, so they are the geologists. They will just give us the information about the physical features of the earth. Second one is the paleontologists. Now they study the remains of the plant, animals and human from the millions of years ago in the form of fossils. Okay, so paleontologists just help us to understood, just give us the information from the remains of plants and animals. Then anthropologists, that is also a department of science, they study the human societies and culture from the oldest time to the present, right? And then finally the archaeologists. So they study the past by digging up remains that people, plants and animals left behind, such as the tool, pots, beads, figurines, toys, and then bones and teeth of animals and human, burned grains, part of houses or bricks among others. So since this one we have already covered one topic also in the beginning of Indian civilization, where we just get to know about how archaeology just tell us about this one, the Indus Valley civilization. So if you want to check it out, I will just give you the link of that video also. You can go and check that one also. So archaeology is also one department that will just tell us about the past. Okay, these are the department, various department that will tell us about the past, like the geologists, anthropologists, paleontologists and archaeologists, right? Now, since these are the department, now let us see how time is measured in history. So the Gregorian calendar is commonly used worldwide. Side by side, Hindu, Muslim, Jewish, Chinese and other calendars are also used for calculating the dates of festival and other auspicious event. So right now we are following the Gregorian calendar, and apart from it, just Hindu, Muslim, Chinese calendar are also popular. Now what is Gregorian calendar? It has 12 months with 30 or 31 days in each month, except for February, which has 28 days and 29 days in a leap year. Okay. In the West, the conventional year for the Jesus Christ birth has generally taken to be the starting point for this calendar. Now, what is a conventional year? That is the number of days may be differ from the number of days in a calendar today, right? So they were the conventional year, and earlier what happened? The birth of Jesus Christ has generally taken the starting point for this calendar. Years are counted forward from this point and used to mark with AD, an abbreviation that refers after Jesus' birth. So an abbreviation has been used like the AD that will refer after the Jesus Christ birth, and it will count it forward. However, this is now called the Common Era or CE across the world, and the same thing is called now the Common Era across the world. For example, 1947, the year India gained independence, can be written as 1947 AD or 1947 CE. It means after the birth of Jesus Christ. So if you can see this picture here, see. This is 2000 common era. Right now we are here and this is our future, right? So this is the birth of Jesus Christ. So from here onward, it has been used as AD. That is the common era, right? So similarly, the years before the conventional date for the birth of Jesus are counted backward and used to be marked with BC. That is, before Christ, they are now called before common era. See, the birth of Jesus Christ, here it has been used as CE, right? AD, the common era. And before the birth of Jesus Christ, that is used as BCE, before common era. And here we will see the birth of Buddha also, that is in the 560 BC. Okay, I hope this is clear to you. Now, let us see this one, the timeline. See here. Here I have drawn one, the picture has been taken from the textbook itself. So here the first examples of rock is there. Here one arrow is going this side. It means BCE. This is the before common era here, and this one is CE. This is going forward. Here we are. See here 2000 CE. Here we are. Here we have seen the birth of Jesus. It means from here onward common era is there, and at the back side it is before common era. See, Indus Saraswati civilization is there, and the world first cities in Mesopotamia, then pottery technology in Indian subcontinent, right? End of ice age. So this is. Now let us try to understand what is timeline. A timeline is a convenient tool to mark such event as it shows a sequence of date and events covering any particular period. So this is a timeline because it is a convenient tool to mark such event as it shows a sequence of date and event covering any particular period. Okay. It runs from the beginning of humanity to the present with a few important landmarks. Now, a timeline also helps in understanding the order in which historical events take place. So, this is the importance of timeline. It will just tell us how historical event take place, what goes this and after that like this. It will tell you the sequence also. For example, without looking at dates, now you can see that the birth of Buddha occurs before the date of Jesus. This one, see. Here if we will see, so this is a timeline, right? So here 2000 CE, here we are. So we will see this Jesus birth, that is CE, and before that if we will see, give this picture, then we will understand that this is the birth of Buddha, 560 BC, right? So this is the timeline. Now while using the timeline, we use certain terms also, that is the century and the millennium. Let us see what is this. It is any period of 100 years. Century is any period of 100 years. For instance, we are currently in the 21st century CE, that is the common era, which runs from 2001 to 2100, right? It will go from here, and right now we are 2025. 25 years we have, it has been passed away. The century BCE are calculated beginning from the year 1 BCE and keep going back in time. For example, the 3rd century, that is the before common era, would include the year 300 BCE to 201 BC. So since the before common era is there, so it will count backward, right? So it will keep going back. Now, millennium is also there. So it is any period of 1000 years. So 1000 period of time is known as millennium. In history, specific centuries are counted every 1000 years from the year 1 CE, that is common era. For instance, we are currently in the 3rd millennium, which began in 2001 CE and will go up to 3000 CE. So right now we are in which millennium? We are here in the 3rd millennium. Okay. So this is about the timeline. Now let us see what are the sources of history, from where we get the information about the history. So there are 4 sources, main important sources, that will give us about the information about the past. And these are oral sources, literary sources, artistic sources, and archaeological sources. Now again, what are oral sources has been divided into 2, that is the genealogical and folklore. Now what is genealogical? That is the study of family history or the relationship between the people and the families. That is a department that will tell us about the history, okay? And what is folklore? That is the traditional belief and the customs or the stories of a community passed through the generation, that has been studied here, and that has also become a source of history, right? It has become an oral source of history. So from genealogical and folklore we get a lots of information about the history. Secondly, literary source. As the name indicates, it must have some written oral records, right? And provide the information about the ancient culture. So here it is divided into Indian literature and foreign account. So if you will go in the Indian literature, then the Vedas and Itihas will told us about the literary sources. So There are 4 Vedas, isn't it? So that will give us about the history, about the Indian history. Then poems and plays are also there. So the poem and play is a piece of writing that will combine the language, the rhythm, the dialogue in a narrative structure, isn't it? And Vedas are the knowledge that we get, and Itihas, that was the epic poem that we are going to get, right? After that, we will see historical texts are also there that will give us about the literary source. Now, what is historical text? That is a written record of real events, the people and the places from the past. Okay. Now, again, the collection of stories that will also give us about the information about the past. Then, scientific and technological texts that are the written piece explain scientific concept or the details and the technical process. So, this is about the Indian literature, right? Now, we will see the foreign account. So here we will get to know about the travel log, that is a book or a piece of writing about the travel. So about the traveling also, that will also reveal so many things about the history. Then historical chronicles. So that is a record of event in chronological order. Now what is the chronological order? That is a record following the order in which they occurred, right? So this is about the foreign account. Now, the third one is the artistic sources. Here we will get the knowledge about the history from the paintings, from the sculptures and from the panels. Now, artistic sources are the work of art, and painting will also reveal the history. Then sculptures, that is the art of form by carving in the stone or wood or by casting in the metal or plaster, right? And in the panels, that is a piece of wood or a metal or glass. So that will also reveal about the past, about the history, right? Then finally, archaeological sources. So here excavation, structures and inscriptions are there that will tell us about the history. In excavation, we will find about the human, animals and plant remains, then tools and weapons, figurines and ornaments. Now figurines are the statues and the ornaments, poetries and toys, and then habitations. So habitations is the living in a place, right? And the burial are the practice of burying a dead body. So this will also just give us a lot of information about the history. Then in the structure we will find about the monuments, that is the old building or of historical importance, that may be about the people or the event. And the mounds are will also there, that will a rounded mass projecting above a surface. And in inscription, that is the word that are written on or cut on something. Here we will get about the manuscript that is written by hand, then in the copper plate and the coin. So these are the sources of history, the oral source, the literary source, artistic source and the archaeological source that will just give us a lot of information about the past. Now apart from it, historians, archaeological, epigraphists who study an ancient inscription, anthropologists, expert in languages and literatures are some more people or some more department that will contribute to all these sources of history. So these people will also help us to give us a lot of information about the past. However, studies of ancient climate, chemical studies of excavated materials and study of genetics of ancient people have also provided fresh insight to the sources of history. Then another source is newspaper, electronic media, that is the television and the internet are also recent sources that are consulted. Okay, so these are the recent sources which also reveal about the past. So these are the sources of history. Let us see how the beginning of human history has been started. So modern humans, that is the Homo sapiens, have walked the planet from about 3 lakhs years, right? They were mainly hunters and gatherers. This means that they relied on hunting and collecting edible plants and fruits for their survival. That is the early man. These groups lived in temporary camps, rock shelters or caves and communicated with each other using languages that are now lost. So their languages that they have uses for their interaction now that has been lost. We don't know which language they were using. Okay. Slowly and slowly they used fire and started moving, just making objects that made their life easier. So their civilization is growing and they learned how to use fire and start making objects that made their life easier. Aspects of their life are visible in rock painting found in hundreds of caves all over the world. Now how we get to know about them? All about their works are there in the rock painting and in the hundreds of caves that are found all over the world. Okay, that is also a source of history. Now the first crops. Over long ages, the earth climate has gone through many changes. At certain time it was very cold and much of its earth was covered with ice, that is called the ice age, right? The last ice age lasted from over 1 lakh years ago to around 12,000 years ago. Afterwards, living condition improved for humans and they started settling down and cultivating cereals and grains. So in this way, the first crops came. With more food available, this community grew in size and number and often settled down near the rivers. Now, since the soil near rivers were fertile, it made the process of growing crops easier. Okay, so now they are growing the crops, cereals and grains. Communities grew and their social complexity too. Leaders and the member of the community worked towards the community welfare. As time went by, hamlets, that is a small settlement, grew into a sizable villages and that exchanged goods, mostly food, clothing and tools. See how these peoples are just developing slowly and slowly. Slowly, network of communications and exchange were established among those villages and some of them grew into small towns. Now, new technologies appear, further the use of metal which helped them to make durable tools, objects of daily use and ornament. So, in this way, we just came to know about the beginning of human history, how they were gatherer and then slowly and slowly development occur. Then they begin to learn about the first crop, they do the agriculture also, they learn to live in the communities also, right? And they begin to network of communication was there, they adopted the new technology and which helped them to make durable tools and the community of human beings just develop. Finally, a timeline allows us to understand the sequence of events and how they relate each other. And sources of history provide the data and evidence that allow historians to place events in chronological order. So this is the timeline and the importance of sources of history that just now we have covered, and we just came to know about the how do we learn about the past. So I hope you like this video. So if you find this video useful, do like, share and subscribe.